What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So yesterday, a very odd situation was unfolding around Metroid Dread. Specifically, though, the Metroid Dread Special Edition, the copy that everyone was scrambling to get when it went live online. Then it sold out. Then it started showing up on eBay for twice the price. Well, emails started to go out about special editions being canceled or partially refunded. We're going to go over all of that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about that state of play from Sony. I looked around and noticed a lot of people were underwhelmed or disappointed by it, but there were still some pretty cool announcements in there we can go over. And we're also going to be talking about Bloober team and how they have now responded to rumors around them creating a new Silent Hill game with Konami. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure that like button helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below and ring that notification bell so you can keep up to date with all the uploads here on the channel. And we're going to start today with the xScreen. Now, this is a Kickstarter we had covered previously. It's an idea that calls back to like the original PlayStation 1, the slim model that had the screen on the back, or even the PS2 and the GameCube. Those had those little fold down screens. Well, you can see here, the xScreen would actually attach to the back of your Series S and fold down to cover it, or if you want to start playing, you have to plug it in and then fold it up and you're good to go there. But it looks like after going live, they were funded in about 20 minutes, looking for just under $10,000 and already accumulating over 390 backers. Now, they still have another 27 days or so to go, so plenty of time here to continue funding with this project, but it's pretty cool to see that there's a market for an idea like this. I guess it's just, hey, my Xbox Series S is kind of portable now with this screen, and you still need to plug it in and you need to be near an outlet. But I guess the idea of, oh, I don't have to take up a TV or I can travel with it a bit easier is compelling. But either way, though, pretty cool to see this project blowing up like this and the idea of a foldable screen for your console still being something people want. Also, we have a welcomed update for Souls fans, specifically for Dark Souls 3 on the Xbox. Take a look at this tweet here. This from Xbox saying we've updated Dark Souls 3 with FPS boost on the Xbox Series X and S. If you're unaware, FPS boost on the Xbox has been something we've seen happen with a few games now, where games that are locked to 30 frames per second will move up to 60. And we've also seen some games pushed all the way to 120 FPS. Now, Digital Foundry did some early testing for Dark Souls 3 with this FPS boost patch, and they said it's like a perfect 60 FPS now, rather than the mid-20s at times on the Xbox One for this game. Now, it was capped at 30 originally, so FPS boost does effectively double, but it also appears to be much more stable on the Series S and the X, and that also might have to do with the resolution still being capped at 900p, but obviously, with a game like this, frame rate much more important than resolution, especially with a Souls game. Now, over on the PS5, the frame rate was uncapped and it sits at 1080p. The PS5 does pretty well with Dark Souls 3. It's just good on the Xbox side, where it was obviously capped at 30, 900p, a much better experience now. So if you were thinking about trying out Dark Souls 3 on your Xbox Series system, but you're like, oh wait, the frame rate's still locked, go check it out now with this new patch. Oh, and we have some good news for the Resident Evil series. We can see over on Twitter, on the official account, announcing that Resident Evil Village has now crossed 4.5 million units sold, and Capcom in general has been firing on all cylinders, it seems, with Monster Hunter just rolling along with the latest release of Rise. Stories 2 is out today, and Resident Evil, basically every one they've released, especially recently, has done well. It doesn't matter if it's a first-person Resident Evil game or third-person over-the-shoulder with these different remakes, it just continues to roll along. And remember, the rumor now is that we're working towards a Resident Evil 4 remake, and I mean, that's gonna sell like crazy. For a lot of people, that's their favorite Resident Evil. Now, of course, it has to look good, and from what we've seen with the remakes, it probably will look good with previews and trailers and all of this, but either way, the Resident Evil series continues to roll along with DLC still to come for Resident Evil Village, and then we see Monster Hunter on the other side. So Capcom, like I said, firing on all cylinders right now. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with this Sony State of Play that took place yesterday. It lasted about 30 minutes or so, and they did show off quite a few games, but about a third of this presentation was taken up by Deathloop and just a bunch of gameplay for that. However, we'll start from the top and go through some of the different reveals that they had, and we'll come back to some of the more interesting ones that were pretty cool. Let's start at the top here with Moss Book 2. Now this, I guess, would be the sequel to Moss that we had with the PlayStation VR years ago, and at one point we even had like a bundle for PSVR and Moss, so really cool to see that this is now in development. Then we have Arcadegeddon, which is out now in early access as a third-person co-op shooter from the Predator Hunting Ground studio IllFonic, and this was leaked out, I believe, this like midweek, and it was through a rating, so we kind of knew that was coming, but it looked all right, I guess. I don't know. We see a lot of these third-person co-op shooters, so it would be one at the play to see if it's any good. Like I said, it's out in early access now, so you can at least check it out on the PlayStation 5. Tribes of Midgar was shown. Then we had Fist, and Fist was another one that definitely stood out a bit, I would say. It looked like this 2.5D action-adventure style game. Then we have Hunter's Arena Legends. Sifu, for me, is one of the standouts in this entire presentation. Now, it was moved to early 2022 instead of its late 2021 release, but they did say on Twitter it had to do with the game just taking a bit longer to develop, and they did not want to have developers crunch to get this game out there. And yeah, that's fine. I mean, from what they've shown with this game every time, it just looks better and better. The thing with this game that is really cool is just how impactful everything looks when you're fighting and you're landing a blow, or you pick up a weapon and hit someone with it. Like you can feel that when it's happening. So really cool stuff there. And they also went over some of the aging mechanic where if you die, you can pick right back up from that spot, but you will age several years. And apparently as you get older, your character gains more wisdom or gets stronger or just better at fighting. But there is a limit to how old you can get before, as they say, you have to restart your entire path. I don't know if that means the entire game or back from a checkpoint or something. We'll have to see more about that as we get into 2022. Then we had Jet the Far Shore, Demon Slayer, Lost Judgment, that's coming out September 21st. We had that previously announced, but it was cool to see it here. And then Death Stranding Director's Cut, another one that was previously announced, but they went over a bit more here, and you know what? I'm surprised because there is seemingly a lot to this copy of the game, the director's cut. New story elements, which was something I was wondering if they would have more to the lore of this whole world here that was built out by Kojima with Death Stranding. So this appears to be much bigger than like a 4K 60 FPS patch with like haptic feedback and all of this for the PS5. I mean, they showed new items. They had like this big catapult thing. Pretty cool stuff there. And I noticed it appeared to be very combat focused. So we'll see if we have a bit more to that side of things. But it is coming September 24th, and it is a $10 difference to upgrade if you already have Death Stranding on the PlayStation 4, which, as I said before, that's just the difference that Sony is looking to make here with the PS5, it being a $70 game versus the $60 Death Stranding on the PS4. Which, looking at this, you know what, for the $10 upgrade, it's not bad for the amount of stuff they were outlining here. I think a lot of people were more annoyed with Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, for example, because it was legitimately like, oh, lip syncing and the different PS5 features. This looks like quite a bit of content for the $10 upgrade. And then to close out the show, we had a fairly long look at Deathloop. And I have to say, at this point, I feel like I've played Deathloop already because we've seen it so many times. Nonetheless, though, we saw a nice little run through of one section of the game where we were looking to eliminate one of like the main bosses in the game. The idea is you're going to go through and in one run or loop, as they call it, eliminate all of the bosses and finish out the game. If you die, you go back to the beginning, kind of like how we saw with Returnal, basically a roguelike game, I guess is how they were describing it. But they did show off some pretty cool powers, good weapons, gunplay, gadgets, all of that. And they showed off different ways of, I guess, eliminating your targets, where you don't just shoot them, you'll do things like kind of get them into certain situations and like traps in order to eliminate them. So it does appear that there's gonna be a bit more to this game than we were originally seeing. It looks like you're gonna have to case out some of these different characters and learn as you do these loops over and over again. But I was pretty much already sold on Deathloop from Arcane. Like, I was just looking towards September, like, all right, yep, I'll be picking up Deathloop. I didn't really need like 9 minutes of gameplay. All right, I guess. But looking at the state of play overall, I understand why people may have been a bit underwhelmed buy it because there was no big standout announcement. Like, we'll look back at some of these presentations and it's like, remember that big closeout game or the big game that opened the show? Sony still hasn't really necessarily figured that out with every state of play. Some of them, they just end with that, like the death loop for 9 minutes. They're like, all right, yep, that's it. We'll see you guys next time, rather than close out with some maybe big third-party title. To Sony's credit, they did say, all right, none of the first-party stuff that most of you want to see will be here. It's going to be mostly third parties and indie games. So, I mean, going into it, lowered expectations was probably the correct move, and I assume Sony will have something from first-party studios in maybe August, I guess? I don't know, because we are getting towards the end of the year then, and Horizon doesn't have a release date. We believe it's still coming out this year, but how much longer will Sony go before they decide to put a date on that game or tell us it's moved to 2022? Overall, though, looking at the state of play, going into it with lowered expectations, that was all right. I don't know, like I said, the death loop thing probably wasn't required, but it was good, I guess, to see more of the game itself. Sifu looks great. Lost Judgment's exciting for Judgment fans, and even if you're a fan of Death Stranding, you probably got a kick out of that director's cut. Next up, let's talk about Metroid Dread. Again, that special edition that everyone was scrambling to try to pick up. Well, emails started to go out yesterday and had some people confused and very concerned because some were saying, hey, my special edition order was just outright canceled. And I went to look very quickly. I was like, wait a minute. I got my order in at Walmart when that went live and Wario64 tweeted out. Let me double check. And I did. And take a look at this. This is a screenshot I took of my order. And yeah, you could see it's marked down from $89.99 down to $52.43. And I was very confused on this one because I didn't get an alert or anything. I had to just go check my order. I don't know if this is a mistake, but at the bottom here, underneath of shipping, it says pre-order competitive price match. And that is sort of where I think there is a mistake here, because apparently people were saying that they're just refunding the difference if you had paid. So they've already started sending money back to customers. I don't really know where the pre-order competitive price match would come from. And I did hear other people, though, talking about this same kind of price cut on their pre-orders with other retailers. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to bring it up here, because I want to see if any of you experienced something similar here with your Metroid Dread pre-order. Was it canceled? Because that's a lot of people were starting to send me messages after I put this tweet out last night that, yeah, my entire order was just erased. And in that case, I'm a bit more concerned that maybe some of these retailers took too many pre-orders on Metroid Dread Special Edition, because I was also concerned that Nintendo may not create a ton of these special editions, because let's face it, it's Metroid. Nintendo has the market data themselves. If we know Metroid doesn't sell that well, typically, at least in the last several releases, like, why would Nintendo create millions and millions of copies for the special edition in particular to put out there? They wouldn't. So yeah, there's a chance that too many orders have been put in and somewhat be canceled. The thing that was really odd and that people don't really understand right now is why it's been marked down. So I'm gonna keep an eye out on my order here just to see if it's reversed, or they let me know, hey, there was some sort of mistake and we accidentally discounted it and then we put it back. Who knows? The one thing I do know is I don't want to have to go looking around on eBay and other places to try to get this after it gets canceled by Walmart or a Best Buy or something. So here's hoping all of this weird price action with Metroid Dread Special Edition is a mistake, especially the canceled ones. I mean, I'll take the discount on the Special Edition, but I'd rather it just be in place and ready to go on release day rather than have to go out trying to find it. Next up, let's talk about Bloober Team, Konami, and Silent Hill. When that deal was initially announced, everyone looked around and said, well, they're doing Silent Hill, right? I mean, it's the developers for The Medium and Layers of Fear. What else are they gonna do with Konami? Well, we do have a response from Bloober Team with this whole situation around several different projects being discovered by fans online. Let's head over here to IGN, where they say 3 Bloober Team projects were discovered under code names, that being H2O, which became Layers of Fear 2, Black, which is a first-person project set in a medieval Europe beset by alien attacks. That sounds creative. And then Dumb Spiro, which is a horror game set in World War II. Now, this was in a statement to IGN from the Bloober Team CMO, Tamaz, saying, online speculations based on outdated or incomplete information can often lead to strange theories among gamers, so we appreciate you asking us directly. We have also applied for 2 other projects codenamed respectively Dumbspiro and Black. After numerous iterations of Dumbspiro, we've concluded we can't at the moment deliver in a form that is appropriately sensitive to the topic and commercially viable at the same time. In short, Dumbspiro is no longer in active development at the moment. Similarly, the initial idea for Black has also been shelved, and while we're still developing a game under this codename, it's now a much different project than what you could read on the web in the past few days. At Bloober Team, we have 2 active internal projects, one in the production phase and one in the pre-production phase. Both are going to be bigger in scope than the medium. However, neither of them is based on themes or premises that have been circulating online in the last days. Now, if I was Bloober Team CMO, I wouldn't just say, hey, we're developing Silent Hill, you got us. No, I would go on about, hey, we have some projects going on, different things, but it's not based on stuff that you've read online, because if it's not called Silent Hill, for example, maybe it's called something else, but it's still based in the Silent Hill universe, they would technically be telling the truth there. Even then, though, I wouldn't tell you that I'm developing Silent Hill. All we know right now is most of the projects that people found online, like Black or Dumbspiro, are shelved. They're not really being worked on like a lot of people were thinking. Hey, maybe this is a code name that is leading to like the next big Silent Hill game with Konami. You gotta remember, they signed that agreement, that deal with Konami, and you know their NDAs and different things in place to kind of keep things under wraps. So really they just came out here and said none of that is Silent Hill, but we still have 2 other projects, and both of them are like bigger than Medium that we did before, so you'll just have to keep an eye out for what we have. It's definitely not Silent Hill though, wink wink. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about the Famitsu sales charts from this week, but I also want to go back a week prior because I want to take a look at Scarlet Nexus, since we had seen its performance on the UK sales charts and it wasn't great. But you figure, okay, it'll do better in Japan overall. Well, it looks like that might not be the case. Let's head over here. We're gonna go back an extra week, like I said, to see the debut week here for Scarlet Nexus. We're gonna start at the top with Mario Golf Super Rush debuting with just over 80,000 copies sold. Then we have Samurai Warriors 5 on the PlayStation 4 at 55,000, Samurai Warriors 5 on the Switch at 38,000, Game Builder Garage at 23,280, and then Scarlet Nexus at 20,160. Now, if we move up 1 week, we can see here Mario Golf Super Rush still at the top, 31,685, crossing the 100,000 mark, by the way. Pretty good there for Mario Golf so far. Then we have Game Builder Garage, which has stuck around in the top 5 since it released. Pretty cool there. And then we have Ring Fit Adventure at 14,422, Minecraft at 13,211, Samurai Warriors 5 on the Switch, Samurai Warriors 5 on the PS4, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Miitopia, Momotaro, and then Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury. Also moving over to the hardware, we have the Switch at the top, 70,401, and then we have the Switch Lite, 14,093, PlayStation 5, 13,655, and then we have the PlayStation 5 Digital Edition at 2,699, the Series X at 2,716, the PS4 even in there at 1,159, the Series S at 754, and then, yeah, that new 2DS LL or the 2DS XL still hanging in tough there at 732 units. So obviously the big thing here is Scarlet Nexus is already fallen out of the top 10. We'll get more information around the sales charts as we go along. We'll get like down to like the top 30, I believe is what gets put out there. But Scarlet Nexus having a tough time in the UK where we saw those sales charts. Now here in Japan where you figure it would do a bit better, but I mean, in Japan it's only gonna sell on the PlayStation. Like, you're not really going to sell a lot of copies on the Xbox there. This is certainly a game that I'm sure Bandai is looking around is like, maybe we should have put that on the Switch, but as we said, Bandai had a slow start to get onto the Switch. I mean, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot is just now showing up on the system here in a bit. So yeah, Bandai unfortunately fell behind a bit because as some other companies were unsure how the Switch would do after what happened with the Wii U, and we're still feeling the effects of it with Scarlet Nexus probably showing up on the Switch like a year or 2 from now is what I'm gonna assume here. But yeah, Scarlet Nexus unfortunately not doing great so far since it released last week. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're taking a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I asked, what did you think of the Sony State of Play? 6% said it was good. I liked most of the games shown. 58% said it was all right. Nothing too exciting though. And then 36% said it was bad. I didn't like anything shown. And looking around online, that's what I was seeing a lot of, is just people who were just underwhelmed by the presentation. And if you think about it, Sony wasn't at E3, so there was already an extra bit of hype on top of everything. It's like, oh, finally, Sony is gonna speak. And they didn't even really say anything. In fact, like a third of the presentation was held up by Deathloop, which is being made by Microsoft, and then Ghostwire Tokyo, I think, is still coming out this year. That's now from, well, a studio owned by Microsoft. So yeah, it's weird. We're hearing a lot more even from Microsoft than we are from Sony. But as I said, I think as we go into August, we will see Sony start to make some moves here, maybe with some God of War gameplay, and that'll get people really excited. And then hopefully that 2021 release date for Horizon Forbidden West. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day as you're seeing here. This is from Chris saying, live service games are the new MMORPG. Companies saw the hit WoW was, and then everyone tried making MMOs. You know what the interesting thing is about that, MMORPGs? I will look at different ones. Like, one I'd love to get into is Final Fantasy XIV, but I understand the time sink that is involved to the point where I might not have time to play other games. And that's one of the reasons I'm a bit concerned going forward here with all of these live services popping up. Would it be like how we had all these MMORPGs popping up and you just didn't have time to play all of them? Is that what the gaming landscape is going to look like 10 years from now, where some of the bigger IPs are tied to this ever-evolving service that does mimic what we've had with MMORPGs? Because if I'm concerned now about getting into something like Final Fantasy XIV because I wouldn't have time to play other games that are continuously releasing every month, what would I do if everything that was releasing was a live service? And ladies and gentlemen, that's gonna do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button, really helps out. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. Where there's that Sony State of Play, let me know what you thought of it. Were there any big announcements there that you enjoyed? Also, what about this Metroid Dread Special Edition situation? Definitely let me know in the comments if yours had a partial refund or was even outright canceled. Bloober team, do you think they are working on Silent Hill with Konami? I mean, they have to be, right? It only makes sense. Thanks, guys, for watching. Have a great weekend. I'll see you back here Monday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time for Newswave.